All right, welcome everybody to the Calgary Real Estate Investment Forum. This week, how to find the money for your next real estate deal. It's what everybody gets to after a little while when they run out of financing and they run out of cash. They need to find the money for the next deal.
While you're doing that, I just want to welcome everybody online and in person. Thanks for coming down. It's not too cold tonight, so it's actually summer today, 16 degrees. So welcome down to our office and welcome online. My name's Azad Chandler.
And I'm Tim Desautels.
Tim and I have been doing this, a little bit about ourselves. We've been doing this for just over 16 years, going into 17 years. We were investors before.
Okay, how to find the money for your next real estate deal. Getting to it finally here. What we want to do is we want to go over basically how to raise capital to do your next real estate deal. Now, we've got people that have a lot of real estate. We've got clients that have very little real estate. We have some that have no real estate. Mm-hmm. But what we've found is after a certain period of time, after a certain number of acquisitions, you run out of either one or two things. You run out of either financing or you run out of cash.
Yeah.
And you need to go out there and raise money for your next real estate deal if you want to continue on.
And we have to stress this. It doesn't matter. Like I'm looking at this picture here. Jeff and Susan are on the right. And then Ryan came to us. He's in oil and gas. They were coming to our seminars. Jeff and Susan basically do this full time. They're full-time investors. Yeah. They borrow hard money. They're flipping houses. They're doing the BRRRR strategy. We were looking at doing an apartment building, a whole apartment building as an Airbnb. So like basically a mini hotel, yeah. Basically. So they're very, very creative. And in real estate, we have to stress this to everybody out there that it doesn't matter where you're at. If you're doing this full-time, part-time, if you have a full-time job, a lot of our investors go through this. They go through a time where it's hard to get funding unless they're doing commercial deals. And then if they're doing commercial deals, they still have to raise the money on the side. So we're going to go through steps that our investors have taken over the years. So they just keep rolling in and out of properties. But this couple, actually, we matched these people together. They did a joint venture. They did a flip in Haysboro. They actually got an off-market property. This property, Tim, was actually very much like the Canyon Meadows property that we just showcased to everybody. It was bought for $550 back then. This is only 2 years ago. So that one's gone up 75K. Yep. $550, and it was flipped out for $850, I believe. So Ryan came in. He lent them, I think, $80,000 for the renovations. They put up the deposit to buy the property. And at the end, they split the profits, and then they continued on. So matching people together, it's a bit tricky when they don't know each other. Being in an investment group, we've got the benefit of knowing our clients, so it's very easy to match people together and make it win-win, and that's what it should be.
Yeah. So when you're out there raising capital, like Jeff and Susan had to raise that money so they could do the renovation. And what they didn't do is they didn't go to Ryan and say, "Hey, Ryan, can we have some money?" That's what we see as the number one mistake that new real estate investors do, is they're running around asking for money. Really what you're trying to do is you're trying to sell the business deal that you're doing. Whether you're buying a buy and hold, whether you're doing a flip, whether you're doing the BRRRR, it's actually a business that you're getting into. And you need to sell your project as a business, and you also need to sell yourself. You need to have show your experience as a real estate investor, or if you don't have any experience, we'll show you later on in this presentation what you can do to make yourself look attractive to people who are going to lend you.
Yeah, no, exactly, Tim. And I know you're going to get into that, but first things first, like right now, this is the easiest time to raise capital in Calgary. Tim and I were raising capital in markets where the market wasn't even good. So in this market, you have everything on your side. And what are we talking about? I know if you go on our Facebook page, Calgary Real Estate Wealth, we always try and post positive articles. And what does that have to do with raising capital? Well, if you're going to someone and you're wanting them to invest in your business, that's basically what you're doing. You want them to feel comfortable. And everything that's going on with Calgary right now with population growth, something just got announced the other day, $8 billion in the oil and gas sector or something. That's another positive article.
Yeah, that ethylene cracker that's going up.
Yeah, so that's another positive article. Anything positive that businesses are moving here, or infrastructure is improving, or they're hiring, thousands of people, will benefit you to showcase what you want to do. And then you can dig a little deeper and you can get into communities. Okay. And I can tell you, communities are changing right now. Like you go into, I don't know if anyone's been into Bridgeland lately, or if you go into Marta Loop. Marta Loop, I was just driving through there, and it's chaos driving through there already. I mean, they built something like 6,000 condos in there.
In the last 10 years.
Yeah, 6,000 condos in the last 10. And they just roped off a whole nother block where they're going to tear down a whole nother block of houses and then obviously put up more condos. So what does that do to that community? I know we heavily invested in Bowness this year. Bowness, the city went in there and they improved the streets and the sidewalks, and the farmers market went in just outside Bowness. COP is getting a whole new entertainment, residential, commercial area at COP. So if you're living next door to that, what's that going to do to a community like Bowness? So you could just see, and I could tell you every house we bought in Bowness in the last year and a half has gone up $100,000, and we could see what was happening. So where is that happening next in Calgary? And that, as investors, that's what you have to look at. And then you have to spend time with people and take them and walk around the streets or walk around the development and get them to understand what's going on. And I could definitely tell you those communities that you look at something like Bowness right now, I don't think there's a Starbucks in Bowness, right? But I could tell you with the infills going in there, like infills, Tim and I, 3 years ago, we were looking at infills in there. The infills in Bowness, the same infills that the developer we were buying off in Bowness was building the exact same product in Killarney, Altadore, South Calgary. We could pick up the same house in Bowness for $600,000, and in Altadore, Killarney, South Calgary, all those areas, they were selling 900 plus. Okay, so if you can get the same spec, and you know the community is going to turn around, guess where those infills went to? They went from 600 to 700, and now they're at 800.
Yeah, and if anybody's been in Calgary long enough to know what Bowness looked like 25, 30 years ago, that main street in Bowness, you could drive down there and there was a shady bar, and then there was a pawn shop, and then there was a secondhand clothing store. Both sides of that road just looked horrible. And over time, it's really, really rejuvenated. I mean, there's still some shady bar there, but there's a lot of nicer shops. And you can tell you in about 10 years, that little main street is going to kind of look like Marta Loop, the way Marta Loop looks like right now, 33rd or whatever that is going through there.
Yep.
You're going to see Bowness Road as it goes through that little main street. It's going to look like that. It's all the shady shops are going to be gone.
Yep.
And
new businesses will move in. There's already an awesome bike shop there. And so we love studying community by community and understanding what's going on within each community. And there's pockets in the city that are untouched. We look at a place like Inglewood. The young kids that we work with, they want to be in Inglewood because they could ride their bikes to the pub or to the restaurants or downtown. And it's trendy and it's cheaper. It's more affordable. So we see an area like Inglewood just continuing to go. And there's many other pockets in the city. Ogden's one of them. We've been going into Ogden a lot. We love the land in Ogden just because they're normally flat lots. They're big lots. The access to Glenmore Trail, Deerfoot, Stony Trail, you can get anywhere in the city. And that area, because of the C train coming down there eventually, will continue to go up as well. So you just have to understand it and get your investment partners to understand it and feel comfortable investing money in projects like that.
Yeah, and so the first thing you need to know is, what are you raising the capital for? What are you going to do with it? Are you going to buy and hold? Are you going to legalize an existing illegal suite? What do you need the money for? That's going to be the first part of your plan when you're asking people for money, or whether you're doing a refinance or whether you're doing HELOC. You need to have a reason to pull that money out so that you can explain to these people exactly what you're going to do. are you going to get the financing, or do you need to get that financing piece from someone else as well? There's all these things that you need to know what you're raising the capital for first. And basically, it's the starting point of your business plan, right? You need to draw the whole thing out. We'll go through it in a little bit of time about what you need to do to put your business plan together. But what are you raising it for? What's your goal in your real estate investment?
Yeah, and big thing there is it short term or long term? Because your investor needs to know when they're getting their money back, right? And how much they're getting back. And we're hearing, Tim, the other day, like to borrow hard money these days, it's upwards of 14%.
Yeah.
So it's getting very, very expensive for investors. And we have investors. We've got a project in Edmonton right now that is using hard money to fund that deal. And so you have to understand what it's for, how long it's for, and what kind of returns you're going to get, and to make sure, worst case, that everybody can be paid out.
Yeah, and you also have to touch on your experience a little bit. Have you raised money before? Are you in a business endeavor that has to raise money? Have you worked at a job where you've had to raise money for a company? All of these things will help when you go to attract capital from other people. You need to accentuate the positives that you bring to the table.
Yeah, exactly. And the other thing about what we do, what we find over the years, Tim, people bring their partners in to meet us. And by you guys having a team of experts, people that aren't just teaching real estate, but actually going out there and selecting the real estate to make sure that all the numbers work, it makes them feel that more comfortable. And we get that many deals across the finish line because they feel like they're in the right with the right people.
Yeah. Okay, the different types of capital that we see people using when they need to move their real estate investing forward. We've got a nice list here. First one we talked about earlier on is home equity. We're seeing a lot of people refinance right now because they want to expand, but they don't have that kind of cash sitting in their bank account, but they have the equity, which we see as cash sitting in their properties, whether it's in their home, their principal residence, or whether it's in a rental property. We've seen such gains over the last 10 years in Calgary that if you've owned for quite some time, you've got a lot of capital sitting in there. And that equity, what we look at it as, it's just dead equity if you're not using it to make money.
Yeah, so that equity, and everyone asks, how do investors keep moving forward? And they're recycling those funds. So they're either doing the BRRRR strategy, Tim, I think that's on another slide, but it doesn't matter. And the BRRRR strategy is buying something, renovating, refinancing, renting out, and repeating. And this whole game is about taking that equity, because the equity is tax-free. And you could refinance those funds. So basically, you could borrow up to 80% of what the property value is. And our job as investors is to go find those properties in areas where you're buying below market, okay? You're adding value. And sometimes, Tim, even condos downtown right now. So just so you guys know, the condo market, we've been studying it for years because Calgary was going through an oversupply issue. And now there's not enough supply. And so 2-bedroom condos went all the way down. We're talking about 2 bedrooms, say 1 bathroom, went all the way down to $160,000.
This is older inventory.
Oh, yeah, sorry.
Not
older,
the new towers
new,
that have gone up.
So you have to really look at what's going on. And we've been selling these condos because people once bought, say 10, 12 years ago, for upwards of 250, 260, all the way up to 300,000, the same property. And they went all the way down to 160, and now they're all the way back up to 250, okay? And so what people are doing, because they've held on to these properties for 10 years, some of them are refinancing because they've paid the mortgages down. They've held on to it for 10 years. Roughly a mortgage gets paid down on regular interest rates, not these interest rates. Roughly on a condo, $6,000 to $7,000. So if you've held $6,000 to $7,000, if you hold on to it for 10 years, you've got $70,000 built up equity there that you could refinance money out and then go buy with those funds. So our job right now is taking people into condos, buying the original condos, renovating them, and condos aren't expensive to renovate. So you can renovate these condos, And the renovated condos are selling over 300, 320, 330. We've seen them up to 350,000. So there is a huge benefit in getting into renovating condos right now and doing the burst strategy.
Yeah, but one thing about the refinancing is you can only refinance up to 80% of the property's value. So you have to make sure that there's enough equity in there that you have some to take out. If you just have 20% equity in there, you're not getting a refinance. That's just one thing that when you go in and talk to the bank or your mortgage broker, they'll drill that through you just so that you know for sure. We've had clients, inexperienced clients that come to us and they thought they paid this property down over the years and the equity just has not grown enough. So you have to make sure the equity's in that property to do the refinance.
Yeah. Other ways to find financing, lines of credit. We've got clients that go out there and get different lines of credit. There's different ways to do it. But once again, it's borrowed funds. So once you use that line of credit, you have to calculate what the repayment on that line of credit is and then how much rent is coming in to cover those costs. A lot of people are sitting on RRSPs. Danielle's been very, very successful. You'd have to calculate what kind of returns you're getting. I know for me, we're not getting a lot. We're not getting that much right now. And real estate, we just showed you what one property could give you in returns, roughly 30%. And I don't think your RSPs are doing that. So if they're sitting there, you could borrow those funds. It does take some time, takes 90 days to get it out. But it is a great way either to get into the market and use those funds for real estate.
And you just can't use RSP funds to buy anything. It's a process you have to go through. So we suggest if that's the way you want to go, if you have a lot of RSPs and you want to use them for real estate, we have to sit down and speak to an experienced broker that will set it up the proper way. You just can't pull the money out and buy a house. It's a complicated process. The next thing is JV partners. The couple on the slide at the beginning and Ryan, their partner, they borrowed money from him to get the project, to help the project move forward. We find that, well, in our experience, we found that the easiest way to find money is through joint venture partners. We do a whole seminar on joint ventures, and that's the way we found most of our partners early on, is going out there and finding people with cash to help you buy the properties.
Yeah, and so you have to make that win-win for sure. We have the templates, we have our lawyer that's drawn up JV agreements, and buying properties with other people. Eventually, if you want to own more than, say, 5 properties, or if you want to get into commercial lending, you have to go into joint ventures or syndications. And we're doing that all the time for our clients. One person basically gets the financing and the other person comes up with the cash, or sometimes both people split the deposit and then definitely one person gets the financing. And on JVs, if you're attracting partners, we always like our clients to do most of the work, meaning do the property management. And if you're doing property management properly, it really shouldn't be that hard at all. We've got a system that we give every one of our clients once they buy a property through us, something that we wish, Tim, we had when we started investing in real estate. And these days, it's very, very easy to get tenants just because there's so many tenants looking for properties. So joint venture partners is a great way to move forward if you don't have the cash. And Tim, one thing, I know we've got a slide later on about it, but joint venture partners, we're also seeing families get involved, either brothers and sisters or mums and dads and with their kids. So
leads to the next slide right there. Where do you find the investors? Oh, question? Active is when you get a partner and you both work towards either renovating the property, you're both actively renovating, or you're both actively managing the property. A silent partner is someone who will just lend you the money or give you the money and take an ownership portion of the property, but they'll let you do all the managing of the, whether it's a renovation project, whether it's being the landlord, things like that. So the silent partners, they're usually the ones that have a lot of money and they don't want to get involved in the day-to-day operation of the rental properties. They're actually good partners to have, but it's also good to have another set of eyes on the ground. If both of you are working towards managing the property, you don't have to go and check on it. You don't have to sign the lease every time. You've got someone else that you can lean on if you're not available to do that.
Yeah, and for people that are following us online in the room, we want to give you the expertise to go out and basically find these people and help them out. And if you're doing most of the work, so they're more silent and you're more active, it will be easier to continue with your business. Okay. I know back in the day, Tim, I used to do all of the work. I used to find partners that weren't involved at all.
Yeah.
Now it's the reverse. Now I'm taking partners on that actually manage the properties. I don't do any management. They manage the properties, and they collect the rents. And basically each year I just look at the spreadsheets with my accountant, work out the cash flow positions, the equity positions, work out if we're refinancing to take money out. That's really my role. So in the early days, Tim, you have to be more active, I would say, and then you could decide which role you want to take on or which partner you want to take on. So where do you go to find these investors? The $20 question. You know, some of these people were in front of you guys and you just don't realize it. I know when I started investing in real estate, I just wanted to talk about real estate all the time. I know I read the book Rich Dad Poor Dad and couldn't believe what I was reading and had to work out a way how to move forward. How could I get in this? And I like, if you've read our book, Fearless Real Estate, I was a chef earning $10 an hour. And I just had to find a way to do it. And I was just always talking about real estate. I mean, I joined a little investment group like what we have and met people and then went on to buy multiple properties through them. So if there's a will, we always say there's a way, but some of these people are in front of you. And we always say, you know, go to your friends and families first, because they're in your circle. There's trust already. And if you could show them the benefits of investing in real estate. And one other thing I need to tell you guys is that there's a lot of people out there right now that are doing it tight with money. So if you could show them another way to make an extra income, and some of these people are sitting on massive amounts of equity in their homes. And if you could show them a way that you could use that equity, so you'd be using your skill to show them to use that equity, to pull that equity out, use those funds. I would even take a less of a position. I mean, normally we're doing, either you pay them a return on their funds or you offer them 50-50 on the property itself, on the profits. And I would always give them both options. So I would take a less of a position in just paying them a return. Tim, a normal return today, we've seen it as low as 8%.
Yeah.
Someone would take, but interest rates are high right now, right? So that's why those returns are going up to 14%. So, but some people are sitting on cash and they don't know what to do with it. And putting in real estate is the next best thing. And if someone already owns real estate, we find that they're the best people to go talk to because they're already investing in real estate. They're already believers. Most people have made money from their real estate already, and you're just asking them if they want to make more money from real estate. So going to friends, family, neighbors, people that have equity in their homes, that's a great.
Yeah, a little side note about friends and family. When I first started looking for joint venture partners, people who know me, I have a very big family, and I asked every single one of them, and not one of them wanted to invest with me. So I had to go outside of my circle, and I started to approach people I worked with, and that's where I started to find partners. And my wife as well, she had to go outside of her family. She started to ask her coworkers. That's where our joint venture partners came from. So it's going to be a different journey for everybody. Some people, we find young people these days, their first partner is their parents. Mm-hmm. Parents are helping their kids with their first home by giving them down payment or co-signing on the loan. They're actually becoming joint venture partners. Sometimes it's just a gift, and it's a gift, but some of the savvy parents are thinking, well, no, I want to be, have my children be more responsible, so I'll joint venture with them so I make sure that this is a success. They don't run down this property. Staying outside of your family, if you have to, you just go to these other things in the list here. And you don't have to go and start begging for money, asking questions for money. The number one line that we've seen our investors have success with is where they put it out an email or they talk to people. All you have to do is ask if people are interested in investing in real estate.
Yeah.
If they start a conversation with you about it, they'll start talking to you. If they have rental properties, they'll start talking to you. But if they say no, they're not interested, then you know they're not the ones to ask. And it's simple. You're not doing an invasive question. You're not, asking about their finances if they have money. You're just asking if they're interested in investing in real estate.
Yeah, and I would be leading with what returns Calgary investors are getting, or wherever you're investing. I would be if I was at work, I would be just telling people, there's people making money on Airbnb. There's different strategies, right? There's flipping. Like when it comes to flipping, like the couple that were on the screen just before, I mean, the profits there were huge. It was like $200,000 profit. The project lasted less than a year, I think, Tim. Yeah. And they both put equal amounts of money into the property and then split it after that. I mean, flipping's not for everybody, but it depends which strategy you want to do. And you know what? I could tell you that, yeah, you have to be okay with rejection and just move on to the next person, really. Yeah. You can't really take it as an insult or anything like that. You just have to say, well, and we say this all the time, investing in real estate isn't for everybody, and that's okay. I know, like, even I've got personal friends that know I'm in investing. They know I buy investment properties for my clients, and they don't even know we've put on over 200 seminars to date on this topic. So, and it's just because I just know they're not interested in real estate, and that's okay.
Yeah, and these gentlemen here in this picture, the young guy on the right, that's Daniel, and his dad is on the left there in the red jacket. They were both investing on their own. Daniel was buying properties, putting suites in the basement and legalizing them, and his dad was doing the rent-to-own strategy, helping renters buy the house at the end of his rent-to-own strategy. They both hit a wall. They hadn't. Daniel ran out of money, and his dad ran out of financing. So they didn't know what to do. And we said, well, why don't you guys partner up and buy a property together? And they did. Mm-hmm. They bought their first one together, and now they're looking for another one.
Yeah.
But Daniel brought the financing, and his dad brought the deposit. So that's a father and son partnering. And they didn't even think about it at the beginning until they had a meeting with us.
Yes. And so whatever it takes to move forward, once again, if you don't take action, you can't reap the rewards. But at the end of the day, you have to put yourself out there. We can't say and it could be someone at your workplace that you just talk to and say, yeah, I went to this seminar. And Tim, we've had people bring people down, they see it. And the best thing about bringing people in the room here or online, I guess, but we see people with more success that come into a live situation. They're not hearing it from you, they're hearing it from us. And then we're actually showcasing just what our clients are doing. So we're not even making up something here. Everything we're showing you or teaching you or telling you is actual results from our clients, and they're recent. So they could see for themselves and then decide if they want to move forward or not.
Yeah, so they're always going to ask what's in it for me. Well, you have to showcase what's in it for your investor. You need to draw up what is good. If you're raising money, you need to know what you're going to offer the investor in return. Are you going to offer him, an interest rate and pay him back every month? Are you going to pay him back once a year? Are you going to pay him back at the end of the 3-year term or 2-year term in a balloon payment? Mm-hmm. Are you going to offer him a percentage ownership in the property that you're buying? You need to make that clear to the investor when you're talking to him so that they know what they're getting into and you know what you're getting into.
Yeah, so with today's interest rates being where they're at, I mean, I would recommend doing the balloon option. So a balloon option is you would pay them a set amount, say 10%, and then, at the end of 3 years, you would actually pay them out 15% per year. So add that 5% per year. So you're not coming up with those funds because you need your property, especially Tim, if it's a BRRRR or something like that, you would need that to produce those funds to pay out. But I would be borrowing funds for a minimum of 3 years if it's a longer term play. And if it's going to be short term, like a flip or a BRRRR, you could have to really run your numbers, which we do anyway, to make sure that you could pay everything out in that time.
Yeah, and the number one thing we want to put in all of these partnerships is first money in is first money out. So if your investor comes up with a down payment, say of $60,000, $70,000 on this property, when you guys go to refinance or when you go to sell it, that $60,000 or $70,000 is the first thing that comes out of the proceeds, goes back to him, and then any profit after that is split 50-50. So that is the number one thing that you promise your investor. Well, you don't promise it, it's in a contract. But it's the number one thing that makes them comfortable is they know they're getting that return back, the first money back that they put in.
Yeah, so that's important. And then the next thing is, which isn't on there, is going over worst case scenario. I know when I was borrowing funds in the early days, even with the income I was on, I could showcase that I could pay that loan back worst case. So, you know, you want to make sure you put yourself in a position that you're not going to hurt your money partner at all. And you have to remember, when someone goes to get a line of credit or equity home line of credit, you're only paying interest on what you use. So I would always borrow enough funds. So I remember when I first got into buying rental properties. Oh, so when I moved here, so I was just telling a story to him when I moved here and I borrowed those funds. So I'll tell you guys a story. So I read Rich Dad Poor Dad, and I was like, you know what, I got to get into this investing. And I put an email out to my database back then. And back then, this is in 2002. Back then, I had to go to an internet cafe, and it was on 17th Ave here. And I put an email out to my database, and I said, hey, I just read this awesome book, Rich Dad Poor Dad. If you haven't read it, read it. And once you read it, you know, let me know. I really want to get into this investing business, investing in real estate. And if you want to do it, let me know. Nobody got back to me but one person. True story. And if you haven't read the story, it's in there. I got the book here, Fearless Real Estate. The story is in our book that Tim and I wrote, Fearless Real Estate. But one person got back to me, and it was my mom. You know, and my mom worked her whole life to pay off her condo in Sydney, Australia. And she said, you know what, son, I'll help you out. And at that time, I think her condo was worth around $600,000. And I said, you know what, I don't want all of your money. I just want $100,000. And I showcased to my mom, worst case, with my job, I could pay it back. And you know what, you wouldn't be out of pocket, you know, because when you start using the line of credit, the interest is only on the portion that you use. So it took me a year to accumulate 6 houses with that $100,000. And then basically from there, you know, my mom, let me 100,000. I used 66,000 for deposits. I had joint venture partners on each property because I couldn't qualify for a mortgage here in Canada. So I was borrowing money off my mom, which I was paying her a return on. And then I was a 50-50 partner on each property. But I was involved now in $1 million business, and I actually went out and took action. So a lot of people always ask, well, how do you get started? You know, it starts with one property. We say this all the time. It starts with one and working out a way to get one. And then, as I mentioned, all of those properties doubled in value. And I've gone back to my mom time and time again to give her her money back, but she doesn't want it back. She likes the return. She's retired. She likes the return that she's getting on those funds. That money is tied in other properties today, 20 years later. And I'm happy to pay my mom a return. And on top of that, I fly her up here to Canada on the house because she's helped me out. So, you know what, you make it win-win. And then those properties, those first 6 properties translated into many, many more investment properties. So, and that's how I started. I started off by paying a 10% return. I started off by having JV partners because in Canada, I didn't have financing, and did a 50-50 deal and still made enough money to continue to where I am today. So,
yeah, and what did he do? He repeated the same process over and over and over again to get those 6 houses. You don't have to reinvent the wheel every single time. If you have success with your first JV partner or your first investor, if you give them a good return, it's a positive experience. They make some money, they're in quickly, out quickly, or if the term is 5 years, they're done after 5 years. If they make some money, they'll do it again with you. And that's what I've found. You don't need 10 or 15 joint venture partners. You only need 1 or 2. Because if you make it a success, you make them some money, they'll want to do it again. especially if it's a 30% return, like we were showcasing on the property that we have off market. If their share is 15%, well, 15% is better than what you're going to get on a GIC today. So you do that over and over with the same partner, and it guarantees success.
Yeah, and now the deals actually sell it for us. So instead of, in the beginning, you got to kind of, here Tim's got blow your own horn a little bit, but in the beginning you got to do that more and more, right? You got to sell yourself. We always say sell that you're in an investment group, sell that you're working with professionals. People want to know that their money's safe, like at the end of the day. But if you're showcasing deals, and that's why we share our off-market deals, a lot of the properties in Calgary Real Estate Wealth are sold not even going onto the market. The problem right now is that our investors will get a better price on the market. So they eventually, these days, will go on the market. But in any case, you're selling the returns, right? And it's your job as an investor to get a property that's going to be safe and that will continue to go up in a down market, right? And so what is a safe bet? Anything under $650,000 right now in Calgary is the safest bet, because it's going to continue to go up just because of all the factors we mentioned earlier on in the presentation. There's only one way for those properties. And then the condo market and the townhouse market is going to continue to go up even more, just because the values are so low right now, and the amount of people that need housing, that's the only thing that they can buy. You have to remember that price point, the condo market, townhouse market, most people are in that price point. So that's where the buzz is going to be. That's where the prices will continue to go up.
Yeah, and one thing we didn't mention is no matter what type of deal you get into with this investor, whether you just borrow money off of them, whether you offer them an ownership percentage, anything you do is going to be written in a contract, and it's going to be registered as an interest in the property on the title. So you need to stress this with your potential investors, that their interest in the property is going to be registered on the title, and nothing can be done with that property without their approval. So you can't just go and sell this property down the road and then run away with the money. You're going to have to deal with whatever agreement you had with your investor before the proceeds of the sale are distributed. So that's what we make sure that anybody we're involved with who does joint ventures, we make sure it's written in a contract, preferably drawn up by a lawyer and not pulled off the internet, and registered on the title of that property, so all parties are interested. And it just makes your investor that much more comfortable when they know that should something happen. I mean, things happen to people all the time, right? People die, people get divorced, people move to cities, they get a different job, and sometimes those properties have to be sold. But if both parties are protected, they know that their interest in those properties is going to come back to them, then they're that much more happy to do it.
Yeah, and once you do a good deal with someone, they're going to be back to do another deal.
Yeah.
Right? Okay. Yes, question.
Investor have to be.
No.
Oh, good question. Does the investor have to be also in Canada? We have so many clients that the money is coming from overseas. The rule is, though, it has to be in your bank account for 90 days. So if the funds are in your bank account, the bank, mortgage broker, bank, they need to pull that record off that that deposit has been in your account for 90 days. Those funds are coming from wherever, family back home. Normally that's the case, right?
Yeah, and what we see there is that money, when it comes into your account, you also register a lien on a current property that you have, so that these people aren't just giving you money and hoping that it stays in that account for 3 months. You have to write some sort of contract that it's secured, right?
Yeah.
Generally against another piece of property or some sort of other financial instrument.
Yeah. Yeah, if they're from overseas, so the question was, what about securing their interest in the property? If it's family from overseas, normally in that case, they're not registered on title. It's going to be in like an IOU from you to them.
Yeah, but you still can register them a purchaser's interest in the property. It's a type of caveat that you can put on there. Will it go through the foreign buyer test?
Probably will.
Probably will, but
Yeah.
you'd have to ask a lawyer.
Yeah, it gets
Yeah.
a bit tricky, but normally
Yeah.
all the deals we've seen, it's family doing it with family and people wanting to invest families' funds in Canada basically through their family. Okay, quick thing here to move you guys forward. We always get our investors to build a prospectus. What is prospectus? Basically, it's about you and what you want to do. It always starts off with what your goals are with real estate, what types of properties. So putting a strategy, putting a plan together. If it's just maybe buying one rental property per year, that's what you would put in there. And then you'd be showcasing what returns that property is going to give you and your investor. You'd be including Calgary Real Estate Board stats. And right now I would be like, if I was investing with someone, I'd be showing them, I'd be finding that sector of the market where it's really going to pay the most return. What does that look like? It could be a house that you're going to flip. It could be like a condo downtown. It could be an Airbnb. So then you have to go run your Airbnb numbers on that property. It depends what you're going to do. We've got people, as Tim said, doing rent to own. Rent to own is a great way to start off because it attracts big deposits when you rent the property out, which you can then in return use for another property. You know, at the end of the day, you would be showcasing in your prospectus everything positive about where you're investing. Once again, about the population growth, about new jobs being created, about infrastructure going in. I mean, Calgary alone, it's just getting the new, is it the BMO Center? It's getting a new stadium down there. There's hotels being built down there. So what's that going to do to that area around there? And then digging a little deeper into communities. What does the community look like? How is it going to improve? And then putting all of this in there. The biggest thing is having an analysis in the prospectus, an investment analysis. We run those analyses for our clients. It's about a 20-page analysis showing the mortgages getting paid down, the rents coming in, cash flows going up, and then the appreciation schedule. There's also tax benefits for people if they're doing depreciation on their assets. They could save massively on their income tax. Okay, so there's different aspects you can put in there depending on the investor you're going after. And then they want to know about how their investment's going to be secure. You know, what kind of contract's going to be in place? Is there going to be a K-REIT on title? All of this might be overwhelming for our investors. If you're buying with us, we walk you through step by step on how to move forward. We don't get paid unless you guys are buying real estate. So we do everything we can above and beyond what a realtor would do to help our investors move forward, make it win-win, make money, and then replicate it. It's as simple as that. We've done this numerous times through joint ventures, through other people's money, just raising capital. So we know what we're doing, and we have huge success with our clients that have done it already.
Yeah, and how do you put this together? Well, we find that our younger clients will just put it together as a presentation digitally. They'll either show it on an iPad, go through everything with their potential joint venture partners. Azad and I are more old school. We'll put binders together so that we can flip through. We can sit down with somebody. We can show them the neighborhood stats. We can show them show them our analysis that's on paper.
The new investors have the iPad and they just go like this, like this. But you know, if you're talking to someone that's in their 60s, they might not want to see the iPad. So you just got to relate to who you're talking to.
Yeah, so you can have a copy, each copy, right? Have a digital copy and have a hard copy. Whoever you're presenting to, you pull that one out.
And Tim, this works. So everybody out there, this doesn't just work on your next investment property. This works on, we're doing land subdivision deals. We're doing commercial deals, apartment buildings. This works on everything. You have to showcase who you are, what you're doing, what you want to do, and how you're going to make it win-win. But everyone wants to own the hotel. You have to start somewhere, and it could just be a little condo downtown. Yeah. We have to stress that. We're looking at condos tomorrow for a first-time homeowner here in Calgary. That's going to be a stepping stone for her to actually buy, move into, put 5% down, and then next year replicate the whole thing. Maybe move into a townhouse, and now she's sitting next year at, $600,000, maybe $700,000 worth of real estate. And then after that, she might buy a house. So, and we've done the numbers. It only takes, actually one property will actually change your life. Like we've ran the numbers. One property paid off will actually impact your life down the road. Okay. If you want to have more of an impact, then you just multiply that to how comfortable you are. People come in and say, I want to own 10 houses. We're like, geez, you really want to own 10 houses? Because it could be, it could add
It's a
up.
full-time job.
Yeah.
So we got a question here. You have to pay money. Do you have to pay taxes on that money? I'm assuming taxes on the money that you get from an investor. No, because it's not income. You're using that as an investment, or you're using that money to buy something. But when you go and dispose of that asset, or you split the profits, or you're splitting the cash flow, whatever the profits that you're making, that has to be declared as income. That would be something that you would have to work out personally, whether you have an accountant or whether you do your own taxes. But anything that becomes income or capital gains, they're taxable. That's just the way it is. You'd have to talk to Justin Trudeau about that. But
someone's asking, do we help in Lethbridge? Tim and I are in the surrounding areas in Calgary, but we have realtors that we've worked with because we've been doing this for nearly 17 years. We've got realtors actually nearly all over the country. So it doesn't matter where you are. We've got investment-focused realtors that do exactly that we've vetted, that do exactly what we're doing and can help you. And then behind the scenes, we can help you with moving forward if you're using one of our realtors. Yes, question. So great question. The question in the room was, is it better to buy through your company or through you personally? We can definitely tell you, if you're just starting off, you should do this personally, okay? If you go get a company, this is what people don't realize. And this is another reason why Tim and myself do this, okay? Educate our clients, is because a lot of American companies will tell you to go get a company. Once you go get a company, I mean, I pay my accountant enough money, okay? But once you go get a company to run the books on that corporation, it's going to be minimum $2,500 per year. So if you're not bringing that cash flow in to support that $2,500, it's not even worth doing it. What we do with our clients is we buy it personally, and then later on, when you have enough cash flow going in, we roll the properties into a corporation at that time. So don't stress about getting a corporation. You don't even have to worry about that. And people get caught up on that, Tim. The next step for you guys is to take action and focus on that piece. Focus on raising the money. That's what this presentation was all about. Knowing where those funds are going to come from, if it's borrowed funds, how much that's going to cost you, and what returns you can get to cover those costs. Okay, that is the next step. Okay.
Yeah, so the money is out there. It's up to you to find it. We've gone through a number of examples of how to get it, who to get it from. The thing is like Azad said, if there's a will, there's a way. If you really want to move forward, you don't have any money, or you have trouble getting financing, there are partners out there that will help you. Attending investment seminars like this, attend other investment seminars around the city. Stick around like-minded people. If there's people that you work with that have rental properties, talk to them, pick their brains, find out how they're doing it, see if they want to partner with you. There are people out there that want to do this. You just have to find them.
Yeah, these three guys on the screen, they've bought multiple properties. They started off just like people coming into the room. We used to do seminars in our old office. We used to fit 100 people in there. We never were online. We only went online when COVID happened. And people would come, and it'd be great because we would mingle. We want to get back to that. But at the end of the day, these three guys got together and started buying properties together. Three different guys, right? They're not even brothers. Rumi, Mamadou, and Tim here, they basically are friends, you know, and one guy is doing the managing. And you know what? Another property that was part of the partnership before, we sold this year. We bought it less than 2 years ago in Minapore for $410,000 and sold it this year for $600,000. They've been working with us for less than 2 years, and they made over $200,000 just by taking our guidance, right? And how did they do it? In a partnership. So they split that profit, but at the same time, they took action, right? So that's what it takes. And if you're in a partnership like that, 200 grand split 3 ways, you know, that changes your income for that year. It changes your lifestyle for that year. And that's what we want to do. So once again, if there's a will, you know what, we will find out a way to move you forward, if it's through financing or finding the money to do it.
Yeah, so that pretty much can, oh, wait a second, there's a question here. Can you please
Send me
the off-market opportunity? Okay.
Yeah, we'll send you the off-market. You might have to take that email address. You will see our email address pop up here soon. Just maybe send us an email if you want to see the details on the off-market property. We're just going to skim through this really quickly. If you haven't read our book, 1 Million Reasons to Buy Real Estate, it's free, okay? If you're thinking of investing in real estate, this book goes through the core fundamentals. It's a quick read. It's a fun read. Core fundamentals of investing in real estate. It's on our website, crewinvesting.com.
It's an ebook, so it's quick, easy to download.
Yeah, it's definitely a good read. We recommend it. Next thing is our Fearless Real Estate. This will cost you $20. It is online and it will get shipped out to you. Fearless Real Estate. You can see that there's a lot of different clients on the front page there. We actually put them on there for a reason because we wanted to showcase what our clients are doing out there and how you can do it too. There's chapters on flipping, there's chapters on raising capital in depth.
Every real estate strategy.
Joint ventures, yeah, everything's in there that you need to know to get.
And back to those clients, most of the stories in this book are about what our clients have done. So it's their stories, their way of implementing the strategies that we teach. We wanted to showcase them. We didn't want to showcase us. And they've all had huge success, and most of them are still investing, trying all kinds of different strategies.
Yeah. Next thing we want to show you is our investment course. Now, you don't have to do this. We don't stress. We never want to be those guys that you have to buy now before it sells out. That's not us at all. What you get with this is for $97 a month, there's over 100 hours of content that you get a members only login. And then we sit down with you and we work out how to move you forward. We have investors that pull together and buy properties together. Once again, you get the off-market properties first. And there's much, much more to it as well. You get our joint venture templates, you get our landlord templates. All of that stuff can help you move forward and make it a success.
Yeah, so we have another question here. Do you feel that investing in Edmonton is a good or a bad idea? If you're in Edmonton, invest in Edmonton. We always stress, start locally, unless you have a lot of experience or you've done it before, you know people on the ground there. Stick to where you are when you're starting. Once you get more experience, that's when we see investors branching out, going to different centers around the country and the world. But if you're just starting out, we suggest investing where you are. If you want to invest in Edmonton, we do have a full-time realtor there who works for us. She only works with our investors up there.
Yeah.
The thing about Edmonton is it's more of a blue-collar city, so there's a lot more rentals there. The rental rate is not as high as here, but for some investors, that's just what they want. It's just a personal preference, but that market is a very good rental market to be in.
Yeah, so yeah, if you're looking to invest in Edmonton, we actually have a full-time person that works for us up there because we are busy in Edmonton as well. Okay, next slide there, Tim. Oh, $97 a month. Yeah, it's 12 months. And then, and cancel anytime. It's
self-directed online learning.
Yeah,
so
self-directed. You could learn. So the question was, is it modules? There's, I don't know how many modules. There would be
24
modules on there. And it goes through in depth on raising capital like we went into tonight, but many, many other strategies like running Airbnbs, agreements for sale. Like I can't even go into all vendor takebacks, like a lot of, it's for investors. Like we go through case studies on flipping houses, how our clients have made $300,000 on a flip and what you have to do to a house to make $300,000. So we're not making this stuff up. It's actually stuff that you could replicate very easily and do it yourself. The best thing about it, we've documented some of this on our Crew TV. You can find this, you can actually Google Crew TV now, it'll come up in Calgary. And you get to hear from our clients how much money they've made, what they're doing, what they're up to, and then you could see if it's for you.
And for beginners, we have property walkthroughs. We show what you should look for in a rental property. We show what you should look for in a suite of property. So there's all kinds of resources on there. So they're quick videos. Some are 5-10 minutes long. Just interviews with the clients, showcasing what they've done and the successes they've had.
Yeah, and they're all different ages, all different backgrounds. So you can see, check it out for yourself. Okay, so next thing is, if it's for you, you know what? We do this every 2 weeks. The next topic is a really good one. We're not sure how many people will come down to the office because it's going to be close to Christmas, Tim, we were saying. I think it's around the 19th. The 19th. But we really love the next seminar because it's all about if you should be investing in Calgary. And we go through step by step. If you think you want to get into this, either just by buying a house for yourself, feel free to send us an email. That is the best way. And we would be more than happy to sit down with you or have a chat to go over what we do and what we can do for you and make it work.
One more question. Do you work with rural properties? We listed a property in Rockview and looking for investors. Yes, we do rural properties all around Southern Alberta. So that's an area that we do work in. And if you're looking for investors, just send us an email and we'll see what we can do.
Yeah, for sure. If anyone has any more questions online, I know we're going to chat to you guys in a second. We're happy to stick around, but we want to thank everybody for joining us and hope to see you in 2 weeks. We are trying to get to 6,000 members on Meetup. We're at 5,820. So if you go to work tomorrow, tell everyone you went to a seminar last night and to join our Meetup group.
Thanks, everybody.
Okay, thanks.